The Eagles join the Tigers safely in the prelims as we take a look at the finals so far. An amazing crowd at Optus Stadium for an epic game to round out the opening week of finals, Kane.
Well, it's the most daunting place to go and play footy now, isn't it? The crowd was deafening there. 59,000 was a record, and they dragged the Eagles over the line. They needed every bit of help that they could get because the Magpies were very, very good, an undermanned side that competed right until the last final sign, led by 10 points at three-quarter time. In the end, I thought it was the Eagles' class and particularly their forwards here in Kennedy and Darling that got going in the second half that was the difference in the game. But what a final it was, and good luck to the team that has to go and play West Coast in the prelim in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure. I think Jetta's celebration is going to be replayed for many years to come. It was an emotional night for Travis Varco from the Collingwood Football Club, and he almost helped win the team the game. Obviously, the minute's silence for his late sister, and then what about this goal, Kane?
Had some big moments tonight, Travis Varco. This was one of them early on in the first quarter. That is just a terrific finish, and what a moment it was. All of his 17 teammates ran and got around him. There's the scenes with the Eagles. This is what we love about footy, the respect that they've shown him, not only on the night, but the footy community was terrific, and didn't get the win, but a touching moment and one that he'll never forget.
There was an early blow for the Eagles, and that was this injury to Brad Shepherd, and you could tell the second he did it.
Well, they got the big job on to go to start the game, but look, just 7 minutes to go in the first quarter, bang, you'd be unlikely to think he's going to take any further part in the season. There's hamstring injuries, there's little ones, and then there's big ones where you can miss up to 4 to 6 weeks. So that looks like a big one to me. What does it mean? It probably means they bring in Will Schofield or someone like that for the Eagles, but he's an underrated player that gets the big jobs every week, and he'll be hard to replace. All
right, now to the SCG, where the Swans season ended. They've had a terrible record there this year, haven't they? But it was a great result for the GWS Giants.
Yeah, well, the Giants were just so tough around the footy. It was always going to be a tightly congested midfield battle, and I just thought the Giants' area of strength is their midfield, and once again, they stood up, they brought some players back in.
Well, this was the key.
Yeah, well, that's it. They took a risk at the selection table, and it paid off because Toby was unbelievable. 29 disposals, 3 goals, 9 marks he took off the back of limited preparation. The other ones in Deledio played his role, De Boer played his role, and Williams across half-back for his first game this year was sensational. So, massive tick to Leon Cameron. He was criticised probably for rolling the dice, but he got all 4 of those right.
Yeah, it's almost hard to believe, isn't it, that Zach Williams hadn't played in his senior footy all year and performed like that on the SCG in the big game. Well, let's take a look now at Toby Green. An interesting day out for him. Let's look at these issues with the raised feet, because certainly the ire of fans was raised on social media, Kane.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think he's well within his rights to do that. I think you're allowed to put your knee up in a marking contest, provided you've got your eyes on the ball. Now, these ones he's actually taken the mark, so he's clearly got his eyes on the ball. You're allowed to protect yourself, you're allowed to go for the footy, and you're more likely to do damage to an opposition player with your knee than you are with an outstretched foot. So I wouldn't be advising a young player to do it because it's not really in the coach's manual and it's not the way you'd usually go about taking a contested mark. But if he's good at it and if he's an expert and they can't stop him, there's nothing in the rules to say that that isn't allowed. So good luck to him, and the outrage over it is far too dramatic in my opinion.
Well, he does have form in this area, and in fact last year he was fined $1,500 for this on Dalhouse. It was declared rough conduct by the umpire, downgraded by the match review panel to misconduct, and so he only got a $1,500 fine instead of a suspension. But if the rough conduct charge had have stood, he would have been looking at a 2-week ban.
Yeah, a little bit different this one. This one's just in from a handball receive rather than the marking contest, and it was unlucky, I thought, that the boot got Dalhouse in the head. He was penalised for it, and I think the penalty was fine. But the incidents we showed before, I don't see many similarities with that, and he'll be fine.
You don't think it's outside the spirit of the game in any way?
Not one bit.
All right, let's hear from Leon Cameron, his take on it.
No, look, I know he was in a bit of strife last year with the incident against the Bulldogs and Dalhouse. That was different because it wasn't on a marking contest. It was a free ball that was handballed up. So they're totally different. You know, you've got to be able to protect yourself when people are coming back into your space on the mark.
We'll look forward to that conversation continuing in the coming days, Kane. Let's check out our Saturday star. Who have you given it to?
Well, Phil Davis, this is as good an individual performance that anyone has played all year. So often we highlight the forwards that kick a bag of goals or the midfielders that get plenty of the footy. This game is just as good, if not the best individual performance we've seen this year. To do what he's done to Lance Franklin today in a big final is extraordinary. Franklin's been hot for the back half of the year. And Davis, who has traditionally got a good record on him, was just outstanding. I thought his ability to win one-on-one contests, to do that, but also to mark the footy as we're seeing here, and also come off at the right time and help his teammates. Him and Callum Ward, who we will speak about as well, led the Giants so well today.
You think that Buddy was underdone? I mean, that was clearly the talk all the way up. We know that he hadn't trained all that much all season long. And now John Longmire's talking about even trying to rework their forward line for next season.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Is he underdone? Well, he's not when he kicks a bag of goals, and we don't speak about it. When he has a quiet one, we say that he's underdone. So, he was just beaten by a better player on the day.
OK, let's check out Callum Ward, as you mentioned. His leadership was critical to this Giants victory.
Yeah, 27 disposals, 17 of those contested today, which is where the finals are at. A game high, 7 clearances, but it's this sort of stuff that he did. Voted by his peers as the most courageous player in the game. This is why. So he just led so well, and what a building block he's been for the Giants. So, and we know the Gold Coast, the players that they targeted, they got wrong, and most of them are gone, if not all of them. Well, Callum Ward's one of them, and they got that right along with Phil Davis, those two leading the club so well. And this was a nice moment for him, and a good reward to finish the game off like this with a goal. He was just outstanding today, the skipper.
Do you think he's almost underrated?
A little bit, yeah. I think the vote from his peers to say that you're the most courageous player in the game is a massive tick, and an honour that should be right up there with the game's biggest awards.
All right, let's take a look at this injury to Josh Kelly. It's concerning. It's been described as a meniscus injury to his right knee, and you suggest that he won't play any further part in the final.
Yeah, perhaps. I think there is cases where you can go in and operate and trim the meniscus and get them back in 2 to 3 weeks. We've seen that in the past. So, look, they'll try and do that. The severity of that probably won't be known, to be honest, until they operate on it and have a look inside. But to be without Patton and Dawson Simpson and a few others that they've got, he's sure out of the side. And then to lose Kelly in the opening stages of that game, the performance there from the Giants was as good as any we've seen this year. And on the flip side, Sydney, that was a pathetic display in a big game to be held to 30 points on your home ground against a side that you match up pretty well against and that you beat only a couple of weeks ago. That was a disaster by Sydney today.
Can the Giants still win the flag without Kelly?
Don't think so. I don't think anyone can win it outside of Richmond and West Coast now. I just think the path is too hard. I think the one challenger to those two sides is Melbourne, clearly, but still a long way for them to go. They're going to have to go to Perth now, which is going to be extremely difficult to win. So to lose, for the losers and also the winners of the qualifying finals, the elimination finals, it's going to be really tough.
All right, let's take a look now at the game between Melbourne and the Cats and Melbourne's physicality. Don't spoil the party for Demons fans just yet, Kane.
No, well, they're playing finals type of footy, and this is what stood out. They just brutalised Geelong on the night, particularly right from the start. And it was led by Jack Viney, who once again was an inspired selection by Simon Goodwin, hadn't played since round 16, 9 tackles in the first half. And just the physicality, Geelong just couldn't cope with it. So they've done it all year. So this isn't a one-off thing for Melbourne. They've been strong around the footy all year at the clearances. Their tackling and their contested work has been the best in the competition, and they proved it once again that they're a tough side on Friday night.
And a lot of people giving credit as well to Simon Goodwin for coaching the team in this way.
Also, they should, because he's been very steadfast with his message this year. I thought at times he would have been extremely frustrated and was well within his rights to have a decent crack at his players publicly. He didn't do that. He stood by his players and said, look, I'm happy with the style of footy we're playing, and clearly he knows his players extremely well.
Now, what about this young bloke, Sam Wiedemann, just his 18th game of Australian football at the highest level, and he's kicked 3 goals on the final stage.
Yeah, I love stories like this. There's often someone who bobs up in the final series and shows their potential, and it's the making of them. Well, this could be the game for Wiedemann. He's a high draft pick, pick 9 in 2015, I should say, 18th game, and he was almost best on ground, really. And that's what I love about it. For a big guy to be able to cover the ground like he does, to mark the ball in the air, but also to be agile enough and put pressure on around the ground. He looks like he's got the complete game to be a genuine star, so it's something to build on for him.
Is it time for the D's to consider trading Jesse Hogan back to WA?
Yeah, potentially. I wouldn't unless he has.
I wouldn't either.
Unless he comes with a genuine desire to want to go and you can get something exceptional for him. But I mean, he'd be pretty handy still in that side, wouldn't he?
Absolutely. Now, this was a little unusual. Should fourth umpires be getting involved in this sort of thing?
I didn't like it. Look, it was undisciplined from Joel Selwood, but it's not having any impact on the play. It's, 200 metres off the ball. He's got two Melbourne players coming at him. He's frustrated, and I don't like seeing free kicks like this. If in doubt, in a game like that, that is a soft free kick for an umpire to pace so far off the ball. And look at the score. Almost a 2-goal swing and could have been the difference in the game. So put your whistle away.
All right, let's zero in on the Cats now, because this is not a good result for them. They are in finals freefall, aren't they?
Oh, they are. Look at that. That result since the 2011 grand final. 3 wins and 9 losses. That's a really poor record, clearly. And how's about the first quarter? That's in their last 6 finals. They've been outscored by 101 points in the first quarter, and it was the case again on Friday night. They were so slow out of the blocks. So it's a massive issue for them, and one that's going to take, a long time to address.
Now, this has been a storyline all season long, particularly the debate surrounding the inclusion of Gary Ablett into this Cats team. The Holy Trinity, they didn't fare all that well last night. They had a fair bit of the footy, but the contribution on the scoreboard wasn't there in the end, and there were some serious errors as well.
No, they had a poor night, and you can throw in Duncan as well, and also Kelly, who are well below their best, particularly Mitch Duncan. So the 5 of them have been pretty strong all year, to be fair, but I think Joel Selwood has struggled when he's been targeted. He was targeted again, so when he's tagged, he struggles to find the footy. I mean, Dangerfield's a star and has had another All-Australian season. Ablett's the interesting one. They've brought him in. I personally thought they would have played him more forward, but there seems to be an absolute reluctance either by Gary or the club to play him as a forward, and he wants to be in the midfield. So that's an issue for them, and they just haven't been able to get that mix right all year.
Now, you talk about Tim Kelly. Should the Cats look at sending him back to WA now and getting some value for him when he's got a year to run on his contract?
Yeah, I think it's a real opportunity for them. They haven't had a top 20 draft selection since 2014, Geelong. So I think there's a lack of young, top-end talent coming through. So here is the one opportunity to do that. I think they're going to hold about pick 12 in the draft as it stands right now after the compensation pick. So to get another top 10-ish pick, if Fremantle or someone in Perth was willing to give that up, then it's a great opportunity to get some young players in. And look, you miss out, but he's 24 years of age, and it's a good return on your investment. Now,
the Tigers are also into a preliminary final, and there were some costly misses, weren't there, from Hawthorn?
Yeah, unbelievable to think that the man they call Silk can miss from the top of the goal square. You rarely ever see that happen. And then Luke Bruce, who's one of the other best shots, if not the best in the competition, misses from 20 metres out directly in front also. So they did that, and then up the other end, Richmond were freakish with the goals that they kicked. One to Rioli, which was extraordinary, and that one there is one of the best goals we've ever seen in finals ever. I'm still not sure how Dusty did that. He was exceptional on the night again, so that was the story of the night, really.
Yeah, and it was a really horrible night for the Hawks and some of their stars.
Yeah, look, I thought they were competitive for a half, Hawthorn, but the result was probably as expected. These 3 here were quiet and didn't have an influence on the game. You could probably throw in Luke Bruce into that as well, and some others as well who are well below their best. But you'd expect them to bounce back and be still pretty difficult to beat next Friday night against Melbourne. I wouldn't think that's a given for the Demons.
All right, let's take a look at those games coming up next week as the finals continue. It is Hawthorn and Melbourne at the MCG on Friday night, and then on Saturday it'll be Collingwood and the Giants. Who wins both of those, Kane?
No, look, I'll tip Melbourne. I think they win, and then you go Collingwood at the MCG against the Giants, who have some injuries and don't usually play the MCG very well.
Now, speaking of the Ds, one more thing. This was a brilliant photo by our photographer here at AFL Media, Michael Wilson. You would have seen it all around the country this weekend. Nathan Jones, one of the stories. And look at this. It's already popped up in Hosier Lane in the centre of Melbourne. Pretty good piece of art.
Oh, people are so clever, aren't they? It's an amazing photo, one of the best we've seen all year, and just shows the emotion of finals footy, and that's why we love it so much.
We'll see you next week, Kane. Thanks for that. Catch everyone.